Good evening or afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast by Weather Forecast. And it's going to be once again another upload on the chance for an upcoming winter storm for the Great Lakes and as well the upper Northeast. It's going to be looking at the overall timing and location for this storm. But before we get the video, I would recommend you guys subscribe to the channel, smash that like button and bell icon if you have not already done so to support the channel. But without further ado, let's get in the forecast. So the first thing I want to look at is the 500 millibar height on the latest GFS run here. This is 12Z. This video is coming up before the 18Z, so I don't have the latest run, or probably at the time won't be the latest run. But here's the overall pattern, what we're looking at on Friday or Saturday midday. Going to be seeing some very strong zonal flow of this polar vortex. So a lot of that cold air is going to be staying towards Canada at this point on Saturday early afternoon. Going to be seeing some really strong positive EPO. So going to be seeing some really strong ridging all across the United States, especially since we're going to be seeing a lot of above average pressure. So it's going to be a rather warm start to Saturday all across the United States. But as we now going towards overnight into Sunday morning, this polar vortex is going to start weakening and it's going to start to invade the United States and the northern United States. And this is going to be the reasoning for the setup of this winter storm. As we go towards Sunday late morning, here's that area of low pressure, and notice how all that really cold air is going to be north of that low pressure. So the main area to watch out for snow is going to be remaining across the upper north central, and it's not going to be too widespread as a result of these really strong two high pressures, one in the east, one in the west. And you're going to start to notice a dip in the jet stream here, so we're going to start to see a overall strong jet stream associated with this system. It's going to bring in a really deep cold air. And then by Sunday afternoon and evening, there's that low pressure eventually. And notice how this front's actually going to be to the east of that deepest cold air. So the main area to watch out for very heavy snow with the system is going to be basically northwest and north of this area of low pressure, because that's where that really deep cold air is going to be. That's going to be seeing this general area right now. It's going to be the area to watch out for cold air advection and cold conveyor belt. While to the east and basically northeast of that low pressure, we're going to be seeing areas east of that cold front, which will obviously eventually somewhat be right here. It's going to be seeing really warm part of the warm conveyor belt and see some pretty chilly-ish rain. So it's overall going to be pretty warm though. But as we go eventually later on towards Monday late morning, there's that low pressure. The main low pressure is going to be right here, and of course there comes that strong dip in the jet stream. You're going to be seeing that really strong trough, of course, going to be a open wave trough, and they're going to be seeing some really intense ridging all across the East Coast, West Coast, and the Gulf Coast. So it's going to be oops, I actually hit my table. I do apologize if that was loud, but primarily going to be pretty cold all across, mainly the upper northern United States. Could see some slightly cooler air across the East Coast by Tuesday, but overall this mainly deep cold air and this main trough is going to eject mainly around the north central, the northern plains, and the Great Lakes, and then eject toward the northeast, towards Quebec and Ontario. So the main area of snow in this main storm is going to really stay to the north of the northeast. It's going to primarily stay across the upper Great Lakes, and some lake effect snow possible, but it's definitely going to be limited across the East Coast because of that ridging off the east or off the Atlantic, which typically is not expected to move any further east because of that troughing we're seeing. Since this overall Arctic circle, or this Arctic and polar vortex, is going to be rather zonal and strong, we're going to be seeing some really lower pressure at those higher altitudes. We're going to be seeing some really intense troughing over Greenland, so we're not going to be seeing any interesting negative NAO pattern. So practically we are looking at a positive NAO and really a positive Arctic oscillation. So the pattern is not looking too good for a super duper widespread snowstorm. However, it's definitely going to be extremely significant for the areas that it's going to affect. So here's the overall pattern for Saturday, this is going to be Saturday afternoon. Like I said, going to be very warm, extremely warm temperatures, and as well very dry and mild conditions for much of the week here today, obviously tomorrow and Saturday. And as we go now towards practically Sunday late morning, this cold air is now going to rapidly make its way towards the areas northwest of that low pressure. Of course, that's where that really deep cold air is going to start to dip. And as we now go towards Monday early morning, notice how you start to see this ridge is rapidly moving to the east here, because this really trough is super duper strong. There you see that really deep cold air across southern Canada and the northern United States. this we're going to be seeing Arctic air, going to be seeing extremely cold air. So obviously areas northwest of that low pressure, including Minnesota, North Dakota, and the upper Great Lakes, are going to be seeing probably anywhere from 20 to 35 degrees below average, while areas in the East Coast are going to be seeing practically the warmest air they've seen in a while. Going to be seeing up to 25 to 30 degrees above average. Look at Maine, probably going to get 32 degrees above average. This is a look at Monday evening. So like I said, the East Coast is going to be extremely warm because that ridge is just not going to move whatsoever. And here's a look at the overall cold front, the overall trop itself at this point is going to be dipping like this. And so that's why areas practically north and northwest of that low pressure are going to be the main areas to see that really good chance for extremely heavy snow. So watching out specifically for the Great Lakes to get some good snow and possible some lake effect snow Monday night to Tuesday morning, as a cold air will eventually reach the East Coast and the eastern Great Lakes, but it's definitely going to be too late for any significant snowfall. Let's not go ahead and get a look here at the latest 12Z GFS run. Don't see any differences really for the upcoming 18Z, but who knows, there could obviously be a significant change in the troughing pattern, etc. But hopefully it's not too big of a difference. So here's the overall look at Saturday morning. Really going to be practically really boring. However, as we go towards Saturday afternoon, that cold air is going to start to resemble and be visible and felt across the highest point in the United States in the northwest. Going to be seeing practically around the Canadian border. That's where that cold is going to start to be felt. So as the averages alone are going to be pretty cold across these areas, we are going to be seeing some snow, even if it's going to be slightly above average, because of course the averages in early December are pretty darn cold in upper Montana and as well upstate Idaho. So as this low pressure is going to form, like I said, it's going to be pretty much front-sided and act like a clipper, because it's going to be a very odd timing and actually pretty bad timing with this, because look where that low pressure is, pretty far south into Wyoming, and eventually the area at that point on Saturday afternoon is going to be really warm. So all that moisture is going to be pretty far north of that low pressure, considering that's going to be the only actual area of cold air. As we now go towards Sunday overnight Saturday into early Sunday morning, this low pressure is going to be pretty far south and towards near the Nebraska border, and all that snow is going to stay in the far up north central portion of the United States, because of course there's that high pressure starting to bring that really deep cold air, but only towards the Great Lakes and North Plains, while we have that really strong ridging across the east, bringing very dry conditions, and same thing across the west, another big stubborn high pressure. So oops, that's not what I want. Let's get that out of the way. So obviously, the best area is going to be right near the Canadian border, far upstate North Dakota, upstate Wisconsin, and upstate Minnesota. And as we now go towards Sunday afternoon, we're missing a lot more moisture starting to make its way here. So there's going to be the actual cold front itself. We're going to be seeing to the east of that cold front and to the southeast of that. Low pressure is obviously going to be very warm. There you see that kind of extreme advection, that warm conveyor belt, and of course, like I said, area kind of really northwest and north of this low pressure is going to be really heavy snow, and eventually by Sunday afternoon, this cold front will start to catch up toward this front itself, the low pressure itself, and by Sunday evening, you're going to be seeing extremely, and I mean extremely heavy snow. And notice how most of this snow is going to be practically north of the low pressure. It's going to stay that for quite a while eventually, until it makes its way towards mainly Quebec. That's where that cold front will eventually catch up, but mainly going to be seeing extremely heavy snow for the highest point of Michigan, highest point there in Wisconsin, highest point there in Minnesota, and of course, it's going to really rock southern Ontario. And then for the remaining areas to the east of that cold front, going to be seeing really heavy rain. So this is definitely a storm this setup would have a lot of potential if the timing was a lot better. And as we now go towards the Monday afternoon, we're going to be seeing now this rain starting to catch up eventually towards the Gulf Coast, all the way from the Canadian border. And then, like I said, we could see lake effect snow eventually later Monday night into Tuesday morning across the Northeast, because at this point, the cold front will be basically around right here. So we're going to be seeing some remaining moisture, could see some lake effect snow, but notice how it's still mainly going to be mainly isolated in towards Canada. The CMC is definitely, I'd say it's still being pretty consistent and it being a massive upper Great Lakes system. Here's the overall look by Sunday early morning. There is that extremely widespread snow from Michigan all the way to Wyoming and Montana. So I think that CMC is definitely a little bit more intense than the GFS, as well as I think it has it going further south, because look at that low pressure all the way down in Missouri, while the GFS has it kind of up here towards the Iowa border at this time in the forecast. So this snow is actually going to be further south, because that means this colder air, where this low pressure, the further south it's going to be, the further south this high pressure is going to be. That means the further this cold front will actually arrive. So the timing's a little bit more different in the CMC, and that's why it does favor some snow actually further towards Milwaukee, closer to Milwaukee, as well even closer towards Iowa. And then eventually, adding towards Sunday evening, the snow is going to eventually isolate further northward, as its low pressure is going to go back to the north towards southern Michigan. So once again, that snow is going to push back to the north and staying pretty isolated across the upper Great Lakes. Very heavy snow for upstate Michigan, the upper peninsula. Very heavy snow for southern Ontario. Very heavy snow for overall the northwest Great Lakes. Definitely looking at very intense snowfall accumulations. And as we now go towards Monday morning, going to be seeing a lot of it staying, like I said, towards Quebec and Ontario. Going to be seeing a big event for Quebec, Montreal, as well as some pretty intense snow overall, even towards possibly, could get some intense snow near Toronto, but could see some significant lake effect snow Monday night into Tuesday morning, because eventually this cold front will obviously be well caught up by then, and could see any remaining moisture, and of course really deep cold air in the surface is going to definitely allow the chance for some really good lake effect snow. So could still see some good snow across the northeast, including obviously Pennsylvania, New York, and even Ohio, and possibly even the highest elevations in New England. But it's definitely not going to be part of the main snowstorm. It's going to be the aftermath. Let's now, last but not least, look at the European. Excuse me. And the Europeans probably taking the furthest north out of all the malls, having it at this point into North Dakota, and then basically just kind of going straight through Wisconsin, while at this point the CMC has it all the way down here, and that's why there's a difference, and that's why the European has this snow practically not even getting towards Green Bay, which is a lot to say. It does get Green Bay some snow eventually mid-afternoon, but as we go now towards the overall overnight, a lot of the snow is going to stay towards, and I mean the highest point, like very up there. I mean, Traverse City barely getting the snow. That's how far north this is going to have to be. So towards the upper peninsula, upstate Minnesota, and far upstate Wisconsin is the ideal place for this. And of course, going to be seeing that really heavy rain all along that cold front. So here's the overall low pressure. Cold front's going to be somewhat around stretching that way. And then, of course, going to be seeing that deep area of high pressure, bringing that deep, dry cold air, that cold air advection. And, of course, as we look, going to be seeing now by Monday, late morning, all of it staying towards southeastern Canada. And then you could still see that additional lake effect snow. So look at the overall snowfall accumulation. The GFS definitely has, I'd say, uptrended in overall snowfall accumulations. Here's the overall track of this storm. Notice how significant it gets for Canada. I mean, this could obviously, if the timing was a lot better, we could honestly see a very significant snowstorm for the Northeast. I mean, we'd be talking about something like Gale, for example. That's how significant this could be. I mean, what we were seeing in the Midwest could obviously be something possible for the Northeast if the timing was better. But obviously that's not going to be the case. Notice how little the U.S. is missing it by just a tad. But here's the overall track. So you're going to be seeing, you can kind of tell the overall track based on the snowfall accumulation. So you're going to be seeing anywhere from half a foot all the way from portions of north central and northeastern Montana, throughout upstate North Dakota, upstate Minnesota, and upstate Great Lakes, including the upper peninsula of Michigan, could possibly get over 2 feet. And then it goes through southeastern Ontario and much of Quebec, including looking at some really intense snow for Quebec City. But going to be seeing some, our most intense snow probably from North Dakota towards the Marquette area in Michigan, Duluth, Minnesota. In that general area, could possibly see a few inches get towards Green Bay, a few inches, possibly nearly half a foot for Traverse City, and probably could see as high as a trace to maybe an inch towards the Twin Cities, Wisconsin, Dallas, Madison, those lower areas, and then of course not going to be saying too crazy for the Northeast on the GFS, but a little bit different for the CMC is still getting a chance for half a foot or so of lake effect snow off Lake Erie. But notice how they're a lot further south now. I mean, a lot further south, getting that very intense snow now, even towards Green Bay, getting nearly a foot, getting a very, very, very intense snow towards Traverse City. Look at the difference. Look how far this kind of over 8-inch line goes, and look how far south it is compared to the GFS. Definitely a pretty big difference, as it's definitely going to bring a lot more snow for Green Bay, a lot more snow for Traverse City, a lot more snow for Twin Cities. Twin Cities getting a good 6 to 8 inches according to the CMC, because that low pressure is a lot further south, and even gets up to a foot near Aberdeen in South Dakota. Good snow for Bismarck, good snow for Grand Forks, Detroit Lakes, all that good stuff, and even bring some extreme snow for Eau Claire and upstate overall, upstate Wisconsin. There is a pretty big difference, and even getting some snow there towards even Madison getting pretty close to snow, even northern Iowa getting pretty close to snow, while Iowa really isn't getting too much according to the GFS. But definitely we are seeing some big differences. I mean, look at the difference for overall the Twin Cities and even towards the northern Mississippi River. Big differences. So there's definitely still a lot of questions at the track, and that's obviously going to be a pretty big factor, while the Europeans just taking this really far north, although it's pretty amped up, getting nearly 3 feet in portions of Ontario and Quebec. It's very far north. Here's the kind of 8+ inch line. I mean, look how far north it is compared towards the CMC, and look, even it's pretty far north compared towards the GFS just by a little bit. So that's definitely very interesting, to say the least. Getting the most intense snow for areas in the most rural areas, International Falls, Minnesota, Duluth, upstate, very far upstate Wisconsin, the upper peninsula of Michigan, even upstate mainland Michigan, I say the least, near Traverse City, and then getting possibly maybe an inch or so from Twin Cities, maybe barely getting anything for Green Bay, maybe an inch or so, but definitely very interesting. But I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys later.